good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's greetings, Earth?
Same genius time.
Any demographic I identify with.
I don't believe you murder.
I think an ignorant voter and a non-voter
crazy what he did. He took the military out
are
before
one and
he
the
took
same.
the civilians.
Same genius channel.
Under his watch.
What
Know
has
something,
he done
bro.
about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton Ennis, and I am joined by a true Pisces that embraces all the niceties, Craig Lindo. On today's show, we will talk about Florida House Bill 99, a warrior enduring a war at home, and the boogeyman's boogeyman, John Wick. We hope to give you something to ponder. What up, brother Craig? What is happening in your world?
A little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing, my G. I'm just trying to, like I told you before, old school shit, trying to stay between sky and earth and not touch dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here.
All right, well, that's fair.
I'm on that 100 days of gratitude or just daily gratitude vibe in general. So, if nothing else is there for me to be thankful for, I am thankful for the fact that my 10 toes are on the top side of the soil. There's air going in and out of my nose unobstructed, and I'm capable of making good decisions that align with the definition of discernment.
Oh, that's some beautiful stuff you just articulated there.
I ride out from there. I don't have all the helicopters and shit I plan to have by this age, but you know what? That other stuff is pretty good too. So I'll figure it out after that.
All right. Well, I myself am outside of the studio at an undisclosed remote location. So
I like that.
Hopefully all of the electronics and the technology work with us. But all in all, things are going well in my world. And I say, let's get started with headlines. So, Florida House Bill 999. This is a bill proposed by State Representative Alex Andrade. And what it says is that Florida colleges and universities and all their affiliates may not expend any state or federal funds to promote, support, or maintain any programs or campus activities that advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, promote or engage in political or social activism, or include or espouse preferential treatment or special benefits to individuals on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, disability, or religion. So all of that in short, this bill prohibits a state college or university or one of their direct support organizations from spending any funds, state or federal, that support diversity, equity, and inclusion programs or activities. Who this impacts? LGBTQ rights groups, Black, Asian, Hispanic student unions, and why I want to talk with it about you today, the Divine Nine. Black Greek letter organizations, based on these rules, based on this bill, rather, will not be able to engage in recruiting activities, education activities, or those things that promote, support, or connect with diversity, inclusion, equality, etc. So, what say you, Brother Craig?
I feel like I could start to respond to this from various levels, but there are very few levels where I could finish my response because particulars have to be hashed out, right?
Okay.
So this bill, yeah, it prevents the promotion and recruitment, but if I remember correctly, it also impacted if you want to have a major in like Jewish studies or a major in like women's studies or a major in like African American. So the choice of your major and as a byproduct, the utility of that major is impacted, right?
That's in there.
Your coursework is in there. So there's a lot going on here. Please, if you are not realizing yet, woke, which just simply evolved from enlightened, which simply evolved from having access to knowledge which was previously unrevealed. The word woke has been weaponized into a war against anything that is indigenous, aboriginal, Negro, or Black. It has been spun and weaponized in that direction. And the self-proclaimed champion of the war on woke is Governor Ron DeSantis. So a bill like this coming out of Florida is no surprise. I don't even know if it's a big deal if you look at his track record. Right? So that said, yes, it's the next step following, hey, let's not talk about Columbus. Right? Hey, let's not celebrate that as a holiday. It's the next step in all of the procedures that would lead to certain facts and other things being erased from history. So it's not surprising in the grand scheme of things in the macro. To me personally, it's a next step in a sequence of steps to erase certain things or suppress certain information. So I see that there. Now, as far as how it plays out in Florida, I don't know how it's going to play out yet. I'd love to see my fellow Florida citizens rally together and rebuff. But there are other ways in which he has found that he could pacify the different communities, North Florida, North Central Florida, Central Florida, and South Florida in different ways. And he's successfully done that. I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm saying he's figured out that in the state of Florida demographic, there is North Florida, North Central Florida, Central Florida, and South Florida. And so far, he has successfully pandered to all of them since 2020 with just enough touch to still be relevant. I'm not saying I agree with shit. I'm just saying he is skillfully pandered to, because if you really want to bust it down, bro, Florida's like 3 different states when you go by voting.
Mm-hmm.
South Florida ain't nothing like Central Florida, ain't nothing like North Florida. Nothing. The redlining kind of draws attention away from it a little bit, but no. You know what I'm saying? So, what I think about it, I think that just like with the critical whatever bill, that was not ever an issue in Florida, coming from a 20-year educator in Florida. The CRT shit was not an issue before he created an issue in Florida. It wasn't an issue in Florida. So, but he creates issues to wave flags, to attract constituents from other states where those kind of things might be an issue. And he's planting his political run and doing a whether you look at it like a Voltron or a Transformer, he's building it piece by piece.
Talk about transforming. Remember the original Transformers back in the day, how hard them things were to, you broke them more than you were able to actually make them transform. So I feel you on
talk
the
about it.
on the analogy. Nothing to, I hear you loud and clear. And DeSantis has been on this charge, as we even talked about last week, in terms of him creating problems where problems may not exist in order to build his brand, to build his reputation, to make that run for the presidency. It does, from my side of the map, it does seem that he has a hold on Florida, because to read about it, hear about it, talk about it, I'm not witness to anybody doing much about it. Him in general, specific to Florida House Bill 999, which is an interesting bill. 999, Divine Nine, it's all connected, right? I've read that some students or representatives from FAMU, maybe some other universities went to, or they're already in Tallahassee, but went to the House, represented their concerns. He attempted to placate, pacify, whether it's real or not, the bill is still moving. The verbiage in the bill does suggest that there will be an issue for the Divine Nine, if not just in recruitment and or the promotion of what the organization stand for. So where you talked about the Floridians joining together, taking, a stance, I'm looking at the Divine Nine. What are they going to do? What are y'all going to do? To me, this is a legal matter. To me, this is something that our dues as members are to go to. NPHC, you think about all the unity, all the effort when you and I were in school that was done in order to get the Greeks, the Divine Nine in the court. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes your frat brothers, in particular, caused problems where it didn't always work, but they tried. And so we grown now. And so I'm looking for a response from our organization, Phi Beta Sigma, from the state and the national body, looking at a response from Gainesville NPHC, Florida NPHC, national NPHC, because just as we've seen in the back and forth hold my beer battle between Florida and Texas, if this bill were to pass, there's no doubt that other states will try to push forward the same dang thing.
I think the influence of the Divine Nine on the past election was noticed, however, is intentionally not being commented on. So,
Explain.
dog, stop playing, bro. We both know there's a shit ton of people that voted for that ticket because Kamala's Greek affiliation.
Oh, well, I hear what you're saying. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like before, a lot of voters that weren't even going to get up or get out because they were disenfranchised. They didn't GAF anymore. You know what I mean? They were like, all right, well, whatever. Just on the strength of this obligation I made X years ago, or that I still honor today. Maybe I don't, but you know what I mean? Just because there was a connection, there was people that got up and made, like, that cannot be underestimated, because it did make a difference for a lot of people, even not in her organization, to know that somebody that was a part of that system had that much influence or has that much influence. It made and is making a difference, bro.
That's fair. That's fair. No, and they've talked about her reconciliation in the course of the different articles and stories related to this bill. And so I hadn't thought about it from that vantage point that you just shared, but I do think her being part of the Divine Nine did have influence in the election. Did it tip it one way or the other? Only the people that study this stuff know for certain. But I think to the other part of the same point, I'm not hearing a whole lot. It's an article here and there, a comment here and there, an Instagram post here and there. Oh no, they're coming for the Greeks now. But where is that statement? Where is that unified voice that represents what all of these organizations stand for? Us as brotherhood, scholarship, and service. But there's a history there. There's a history in why we exist. And that is what this bill is attempting to dismantle.
I agree, but that also aligns with why there is the silence that you just referred to, right? Because, yeah, you want to agree. In an ideal world, there'll be this singular agreement, this monolithic vote, this monolithic alignment amongst all the Greeks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we are stratified by a variety of things. We could just start with socioeconomics.
Okay.
And then we won't even, we could lightly get into indoctrination, nature versus nurture, blah, 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 all that other stuff. But, here's the thing. All right. Yeah, there's a bunch of us that's, oh my God, she is Divine Nine, yada, yada. Let's line up behind her. But what about those that will be like, well, yeah, I'm Divine Nine, but the platform that the Democratic ticket is on don't align with my philosophy in life?
Well, so I hear you.
And they're starting to face that.
I hear you loud and clear.
Even within the party.
But for me, and this my vantage point, my position, perspective, I'm not attaching this to an individual vote, an individual's choice on whom to vote for. Maybe that's ignorance on my part, but to me, a rule or any law that says y'all can't be here anymore, y'all can't recruit for your organization anymore, you can't promote your principles anymore, to me, that says to me, we're getting rid of your organization, and what the organization should be fighting for is to maintain presence, is to maintain voice. With everything that our chapter Zeta Kappa did to have voice at the University of Florida, shout out to the original line, we celebrate 50 years next year, to be gotten rid of, to be silenced, to be dismissed, I'm of the mindset that is something that we all should be able to collectively stand up for and stand against. But, and for me, that's separate from voting Dem or voting Republican. This is just fighting for our right to exist from how I interpret this bill.
I don't disagree with you, bro. But all I'm saying is the reason that this new demographic is being targeted is because of their influence in the last election. That's what I'm saying.
Now. I got you.
It's like, you know what? You made too much of an influence here. We're gonna cut that out for future generations.
That makes sense. You know, I don't know much about DeSantis. I think it's high time for me to do some diligence. I think my hope
He's not
that
as
he
dumb
just
as he looks.
disappear. He's not as dumb as he looks. And to do this, to know the power that it represents, makes sense. And that's what our dudes are supposed to be up against. Do not
They're
let
dumb
him
dudes
do
like
this.
me that know that the shit that I don't know, I surround myself with people that know about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so some of us that are academically dumb or dumb in a particular category, we make up for it by being smart enough to team build with people around us that compensate for our weaknesses. And despite what you think about DeSantis, so far it shows that he may very well have built a team like that.
I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt about it, because Alex Andrade is the one that proposed the bill. I guess he's out of Pensacola. And so, and again, what stands out to me is how much the silence that exists across the state. I don't see, I don't hear, I don't read protests. I don't see, I don't read, I don't hear voices, strong voices resisting the actions of DeSantis. His biggest opponent right now is Donald Trump.
I mean, in terms of the teachers, he's bribed most of my colleagues off. If you take this little course to co-sign on the new history courses and new history content, you get an extra $3,000. And you don't even have to be a history teacher to get it. You just have to be a certified teacher that answers all of the questions right. So it's bribed a lot of my coworkers. No, I'm not signing up for the certification. Fuck them $3,000. That's where I stand. But I'm weird like that. But every teacher in the state of Florida, if you take this little shitty online course that basically is you saying that, hey, I agree that this Kool-Aid tastes great and I'm going to regurgitate it every chance I get $3K to agree to this new history or this new spin on history. And so he's got a lot of my colleagues bought off in that respect. Plus, during the whole pandemic thing, he kept the bars open. I'll keep it a buck with you in Florida. If you keep the bars open, you keep the population quiet, we won't revolt.
Oh boy.
Once he kept the bars open, like we were bubbling up to be a pain in the ass like New York or some of the other cities. But like once he reopened the bars, at least to a minimal extent, like there was no revolt in Florida.
He won some people over.
No, he won Florida over. He
won a bunch of people over. I hear you.
Dog, like it's a bunch of retirees that drink or functional alcoholics that are about to be retirees that drink. That's what the fuck lives here.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not supposed to talk about that out loud, but that's what is here. Ta-da.
All right, DeSantis. It almost seems that he is applying the principles, some of them out of the Art of War, some of them of the methodologies of the colonizer.
Niccolo Machiavelli.
Yeah.
The prince.
All right, DeSantis. Well, we see you. We'll be back. And with that, this is Unsolicited Genius. We'll take a break and be back in a second.
Listening to
Welcome back. This is Unsolicited Genius. I am Carlton and is here with the brilliant Craig Lindo. What in the sports? So, we talked a little March Madness. My bracket been busted since day one. I'm actually still a little bit alive in two of the in the two groups, the two brackets I did, because everybody bracket busted. So I'm number 2 in both by points, but I know it's not a big deal in the Lindo household, but it's been a good series. There's been some excited playing. As we talk, the Sweet 16, I think it is going on. Is it going on today?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it's going on right now. So there'll be something to watch once we conclude tonight. And so to our listeners, we're not going to keep you here forever. To our listeners, our watchers, we're not going to keep you here forever tonight. You got some basketball to watch. Have you watched any of it, Lindo?
No. Like I'll be real with you. Like the college basketball is not to me what it used to be. And I don't even want to lie to you and even play that game. Like any of that it's not what it used to be.
Oh, no.
So,
no games tonight. They on Thursday, so y'all stuck with us. They start back Thursday.
Yeah. I know I'm gonna catch up and watch, right? But right now, there's no particular game or matchup that has drawn me to watch, and it's not like it used to be for me. I don't, it just isn't. So, I represent that segment of the population that, as somehow we lost touch with it.
Why do you think that is? Let's talk about it. Why do you think that is?
The schools themselves, the storylines behind the schools have become weaker. Maybe that has something to do with the distribution of talent. I also find structurally it's easier to follow football than it is to follow basketball. Okay. So over the years, I followed football harder than I followed basketball. Basketball, there is no, I know what games I'm getting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Saturday is college, Sunday is pro. You have one pro game Monday occasionally. You know what I mean? Like Friday is like varsity and Thursday is JV. Like, and even if you turn on TV Thursday and Friday, that's colleges that are not going to get shined on Saturday, right? Like, so it falls in line with the high school JV on Thursday, high school varsity on Friday, college on Saturday, pro on Sunday, and then the one Monday night game. Football is structured. I could follow it easier. Each team has one game per week. Mm-hmm. Right? Basketball, they could have one, they could have 4.
Yeah.
They could all be at 6 o'clock. They could be from 6 to 10, depending on time zone. So all that inconsistency and whatever, man, and the fact that the rules have changed and traveling is like predominant now and like all this other stuff. Watching basketball isn't as exciting to me, even though like I love playing basketball. Carlton, if you say to me, yo, let's go play a 1v1, best of 3, best of 5, I'll be more excited than yo.
I won't. Those times have passed, my brother. Now, you want to hit the course, hit the links, I got you. If you want to do some sparring in the ring, I got you. But what I realized.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm more excited about let's go to and play a game than watching, you know what I'm saying? Or debating two dudes from different eras. That always, because that eventually comes up. Like, I'm like, no. Right. How about me versus you? What you think?
All right. Well, me versus you in basketball, you win
Well, but not
We played 10
specifically. I'm
times.
just saying that's how I
We
respond
play-
to those
We play
conversations.
10
like,
times. I'll make that 10th time close because you'll be tired. But gone are my b-ball days, man. I played my son recently. He's taken a liking to it, and his last time I got him, but
did he serve you?
I was like, he's not. He a couple years and a couple inches away from beating his daddy in basketball. So that's why I stay in the boxing ring just in case I got to pop to prove myself. But I feel you. I feel like basketball, at least college basketball for me, the one and done did something to me in that regard because I didn't have players that I could follow up with next year, players that I could see progress. And either I got to know them and then they go into the league,
3 years
or
in college
I'm
football,
just
right?
Yeah, I'm just watching, a bunch of strangers every time. But all that said, March Madness is exciting. It is energetic. And there have been so many upsets, which, gives credence and gives space to the other schools to come along. That being said, sticking with basketball, though, now is an off-the-court situation has occurred. On Unsolicited Genius, we don't dabble in the rumor mill. We pick up on stuff off of perspective. So what I will say is that alleged infidelity in Andrew Wiggins's life has prompted a lot of internet dialogue. One of the questions that came from this situation, don't know if it's true. He ain't said it's true. She hasn't said it's true, so we don't know. But the topic, I feel like, is relevant, not sports, but prompted from sports. And I ask you, should there be mandatory DNA testing at the birth of a child?
Yes. 100% unequivocally, yes.
Why?
If you consider yourself a first world nation, why not?
Okay. If I consider, why not?
If you consider yourself a first world nation, which with me comes with accuracy and due diligence of record keeping, why not? Why not? Preemptively cut down some of, preemptively cut down on judicial rigmarole, hoops, whatever might come about. Like, I just think it's a great, honestly, why hasn't it already been done? I don't understand why this is not default setting regular practice.
Where do I start? Why isn't it done? I'm sure some personal secrets, protection, privacy protection, stuff of that nature is the answer we would be given as to why.
I rebuke that, but okay.
I did a quick search.
I feel more like religious projection is the reason why we don't.
Oh, okay. We don't know. We're projecting. It's a realm. It's a realm. From what I could gather, not many countries do. A quick glance suggests that Kuwait may be a country that does it. But I, like you, 10, 15 years ago, maybe I say not. Would I have asked for it at the birth of my child? Definitely not. But I think when we see, I have friends who that they've raised a child as their child to find out later that it wasn't not their child. I've had that happen to people I know, and I've seen the impact that that's had in their lives. And the stats that have been quoted in terms of the percentage of misinformed fathers, are astounding. You know, the stats that, you know, to a third or so of births, or a third of births are the father is in question. And then those that get pursued, the percentage of them that come back as saying you ain't the father, that's heavy. And I don't wish that on any man. And to know all that occurs at birth, you know, they can take the placenta and the umbilical cords and stem cells, and, you know, all these other things are happening at the time of birth. You know, do a quick prick, put it under a microscope so you know what you know. And I think some of the question, what happens next? Do we want everybody's files on file? You know, I don't know. But to me, with what seems to be a significant enough issue, is something that should probably be done.
Yeah.
So let me ask this. Let's pretend we don't have any women on the show with us right now. We're working on that, but today it's just you and I. What would be, as you might project, a woman's resistance beyond the guilty, but what might be some sensible pushback to why we don't do it? Can you come up with something?
You know, on different sides, but maybe I'm not ready to find out that somebody else's swimmers were more dominant than mine. Like there's gonna be Y chromosomes that don't want to know. I'm sitting up here standing in the energy of one of those that want to know no matter what. Life circumstances might change. I might not be as adamant a few years from now, depending on what happens. But, you know, maybe there's somebody that would just rather live in ignorance. A brother that just be like, yo, I mean, I know she got other dudes. I just don't need to know that he was the one that had the stronger swimmer.
Okay.
Like there's some guys that just ride out in that, like, you know what I mean?
That's a thought. No, that's a thought. You know, as you were talking, what I started thinking was, if they were to do that, they would need security and attorneys at the birthing facility, like immediately available, because the level of disruption that could cause at birth is huge. It's huge. So yeah, because you think you married a couple years, few years, several years, whatever it is, love of your life. You've been planning for this thing for 9 months. You excited. You got the car seat. You did the birthing classes. You bought. You painted the baby's room. You got the crib. You watched some HGTV. You know you ready, Dad. You ready? And then prick microscope. You are not the baby's father. What happens next? What happens next?
It's time for some real adult conversations right there.
That's why you need security and an attorney.
But like I said from the start, I'm an advocate of the idea of, you know, at this point in 2023, DNA and paternity testing should be a part of the default at birth.
Right. And as a mom, if you know, you need to speak up, because it's going to get found out.
Yeah, I think that just needs to be done in the interest of planning the health of the child, because, you know, we all know that the DNA that you inherit may or may not leave you predisposed to manifesting certain conditions, right? Or the genes that you inherit may or may not lead you susceptible to certain kinds of illness. So as a result, you want to know from the very start on both sides what the child may or may not be susceptible to or inclined to at different points in stages of their life. Like it's just ridiculous to not utilize information that you have at the ready.
No. I on that, my brother, we agree. Andrew Wiggins, we don't know what's true, what's not true.
Okay, now as far as that, oh my God.
I didn't want to get into it because nobody said that it's true. It's just conjecture and internet speak. So you got something you want to say?
Hey man, I'll just say this. I've been teaching in the same community K through 12 for about 2 decades. And I'm about to stop saying that because I'm realizing I'm starting to sound like Grandpa, get off my lawn, right? All right. But that being said, me being in the same community, same school, and also a community that I grew up and went to high school in myself, I've seen a lot, I've witnessed a lot, and please, I've me and my brother are 12 years apart, so you could label me as an only child, and I'm a notorious set sitter from our college years, and I just love to observe and people watch from a perched, privileged point of view. And these streets aren't friendly. There's creeping out here. There's no loyalty across any lines at all that you might think there would be loyalty. And so as far as with the situation, I want to be surprised, but I've witnessed so much just in my little slice of the suburbs that I sit in Southwest Broward County, Florida, that I'm not that surprised. Like I've seen parents sign their kids up in mutual sports leagues just so that they could have a set time to creep together on a Saturday before noon, because both kids will be obligated. And as a result, by taking those kids, they'll both be obligated and they got a built-in excuse. But neither of the two kids give a shit about the sport that they're enrolled in. Both of them are in my class and are just, well, my mom just, thinks I should do something from 8 till noon. And while kid is on the back soccer field of my school, mom is in the SUV of that kid's teammate fogging up the windows. Like, dog, it's a dirty game out here. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
All right, let me shut up. Too much.
Well, no, he who has not sinned cast the first stone, right? None of us are perfect. We all have stories that we could share. But it's hard in these streets. I, for one, advocate for loving who you want. If there's somebody who calls you, somebody who you're drawn to, go get that. If it occurs while you're in a relationship with somebody else, you got to figure that out, because everything that's done in the dark eventually comes to light, and all the parties involved end up losing. And so with what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I've heard, what I've learned, what I've partaken in, that seems to be the end result. There's no win in this. So unless you own it, unless you want it, unless you mean it, there's no win in this. So, the Andrew Wiggins off rip, I hope all is well. And we hope to see you on the court soon. A couple folks still believe in the Warriors, think that got a chance to go to the ship. So I hope you find peace. I hope this works out in your favor, and those are the kids, and you know, you go from there. But yeah, it's a cold, cold world, and we're not just talking about J. Cole who be spitting it. It's cold out here.
Amen. It was one of those impromptu moments. Let me share this quick anecdote. As a coach, I'd made a little run with the team I had. I think we made it to the semifinal game, to the whole county championships or whatever. I had a lot of special young athletes on that team. And I went and hung out with some of those parents. This was a few years ago. And right around the time that I'd went out, he had one of the parents had also had to process that the son that I was coaching wasn't actually his son. Like, shit had hit him and he was processing with it, but he didn't know how to deal with it because he had already spent. But it wasn't until the teenage years that that son started to show the features that let him know that, oh shit, this child actually belongs to XYZ in his circle. This is somebody that was connected to him on multiple levels. Let me just leave it like that. Without, because if I give more detail, I might sound like ridiculously messy. But on multiple levels, this person was connected to him and around him. And even though not named the godfather of this child, was named the godfather of another one of his children. And he had to process, how do I do this? Because a part of him, he wanted to go ape shit. But he also had to think about, well, from his words, support system XYZ. I don't know if I'd have been so gracious as to think about, hey, how would my raging impact the support system? Personally, I would think everybody would deserve the blowtorch. Like, even just thinking about it now, I think everybody deserved the blowtorch. But okay.
All right, man.
Like, I feel like I need to buy a vintage blowtorch and make sure we have a barbecue so everybody's within range and get them. But, maybe that's why I've not been blessed with certain blessings, because clearly Craig Lindo might overreact.
Well, I think, technical difficulties, I lost some of my lighting. So good thing we are a podcast show. People will hear us too. That being said, I don't know that you could call it an overreaction. That's being cheated on, infidelity, end of the day, it hurts, right? It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Parenting pulls something else out of us. So parenting goes at a deeper love level that most of us don't understand till we get there. And so to have that snatched from you, to say you are not this child's parent, in particular, to know how that this really happens to mothers. I mean fathers, moms know what comes from them, who comes from them. So as a dad, to find out this person, this child that you've given this other part of yourself to is not yours, equates to a death. And that level of grief, nobody can tell you how to act. Nobody can tell you how to behave. When it hurt, it hurt.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't see. I mean, again, as somebody without a child, the thought to me is extremely disturbing. I could only imagine
Right.
people that have been involved deeper, in terms of their personal experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I say, man. Hopefully it's not true. They say one way or the other he's dealing with some personal family matters, is why he's been away from the team. So, hopefully all that gets resolved.
It, yeah.
Right. Right. All right. Are you entertained? What have you been listening to?
Man, I'm like typically all over the place. Like I don't know how I could. I think most recently, most consistently, I've been listening to King's Disease 3 by Nas. If I'm not tripping, the producer on the entire project is Hit Boy. I don't want to sound like some old dude that's out of touch and quote that wrong, but I'm almost sure that's the deal on that. And Nas continues to be the timeless, relevant storyteller that he's always been. The ability to use universal slangs and paint images. It's just it's a fantastic project as far as things I've been listening to. So King's Disease 3 has been a big deal for me. In recent history, as far as my listening. What else? I can't think of any other singular project that I've been listening to.
Well, can't go wrong with Nas. I actually had an interesting conversation with a cousin. I had some family in town, and he's younger, early 20s. And so we talked music, who he listened to, who he vibed to. And, he was of the mindset that, rappers probably should let the game go, or shouldn't be seeking to be at the top of the game while they're in the age of 50. But if they, release lines, if they release verses or release albums that speak to their, their group, it's all good. And so on his list, he talked about Jay-Z, he talked about Nas, some of the people that he vibes with, Tyler, the Creator, Lil Baby, couple other names. He gave some credence, and what I appreciate, and as we do have a generational gap, because I'm about 20 years older than him, is that he is insightful in his choices, and we just pick up what we pick up, and we love what we love, and for me, like you, Nas is still teaching us. He's still, using words in a way that most don't think to use them. So, I remember thinking that you couldn't rap when you were over 30, but, here we are still picking it up. Here they are still doing it, and here we are still picking it up. So I feel you on that. So I took the lesson that we taught last week around selective outrage, and I listened to R. Kelly. Dog, I almost started crying, man, because this was something that just came through on the internets, and it was a clip of him singing a live rendition of "Your Body's Calling Me," which for me epitomized the pedophilia dynamic. But to hear him, to see the ease at which the sound comes from his mouth, and to know he could do it on any beat, with any tune, and that he wrote music for himself, he wrote music for other people. The talent is inspirational, and the fall is awe-inspiring, because I think he got 20 years plus. He got cases in multiple places. Some charges got dropped, but just, his journey to have been abused, to become an abuser, and the world that he created around that is still a challenge to embrace, to accept, to swallow. But damn, that boy didn't make beautiful music.
I tell people all the time, man. And for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me, Carlton, because people talk about how they couldn't listen to R. Kelly because they were thinking about like the victims, and maybe my age and my coming of age happened to overlap with his career in such a way that I don't ever think about any of R. Kelly's victims when I listen to his music. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I made memories to 12 Play. So when any song from 12 Play comes on, I'm thinking about those memories. None of my thoughts have anything to do with R. Kelly himself.
That's fair.
Right? Nothing. Never, not even once. I'm not fair. Sorry. I'm probably supposed to, but I'm not. So, I mean, separating the art from the artist, yeah, the artist has all these issues, but I made all kinds of memories to the actual art. And no matter what has happened like, I don't think about the artist's transgressions when I hear the art. If I think about anything at all, I think about the memories I made to them myself when it was first released on cassette tape or CD, long before the streaming era.
No.
In real time, on my mama's sofa.
That's more than fair. That is more than fair, my brother. I think to each his own, right? I don't begrudge anybody that listens. I don't begrudge anybody that doesn't. I myself, wouldn't say I think about the individual victim, person, place, thing by name. It just generates a particular feeling in my being.
You're a better human being than me, Carlton.
It's not a judgment. It just is what it is. Because
the other day it came on, and it wasn't until somebody said, "Oh, you playing R. Kelly?" that I realized, oh yeah, y'all canceled him. It didn't even sit to me.
It does something.
As a matter of fact, I didn't actively play it. It just came up in the algorithm, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it's still, it does something. But to each, all that to say, it's been a while since I've heard, listen to R. Kelly, and so I found myself even mesmerized just seeing the ease and the talent that extends from him. All right, what have you been watching?
Oh my God, I'm going through a brain freeze. Disney, not Andor.
Mandalorian, Star Wars.
Yeah, Mando and the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
I watch those. And I vibe with the Mando story. I'm still trying to figure out if in my mind it's actually a really good story, or if it's another one of those things that connect with my coming to America transition, so I'm biased towards it. Because Star Wars is a part of my coming to America transition. You know what I'm saying? The stormtroopers and their guns. One of the first toys I begged my mother for after I came to America was the guns that was just like the ones the stormtrooper used in the movie that came out in around 83, 84. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like, that was one of the first things I learned about America. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars. They got a whole bunch of channels, and their channels are 24/7. And where I'm coming from, shit, by 9, 10 o'clock or midnight, depending on whatever, like there was 1 to 2 stations and they were off. You know what I'm saying? So American TV raised me. So I need to go back and say something on this, by the way, Carlton. Unintentionally, as a defense mechanism, I've lied on this podcast in terms of what I've been watching. I consume a shit ton of media visually. I'm a part of that generation where, there's a generation since that has been left, and they were raised by tablets. There was a generation after me that was raised by VCR tapes. After them, DVDs. And then the tablet kids came along, right? And your parents keep you entertained by putting a tablet in your hands, right? These are I was a part of that TV generation / let me date myself, color TV generation. I mean, where I was coming from, the family members that I visited, if they had color TVs, that meant they were rich. If they had TVs, they were probably middle class. If they didn't, it was normal.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So then when I came here, not only did everybody have color TVs, but they had channels that stayed on 24/7. That shit was mind-blowing. Like, Star Wars is a part of my coming to America experience. Saturday Night Live is a part of my coming to America experience. That shit might be taken for granted by other Americans, but that helped me get socialized to the whatever extent that I got socialized. Whether or not you look at me now and feel like that shit worked, that was a part of my socialization in America.
So, do you still watch Saturday Night Live?
Recently, I've started to get back into it, honestly. Like, since the pandemic, I've slowly started to go seek out Saturday Night Live. I don't know what, around that time.
I've never been a regular watcher. I love the Eddie Murphy clips that I would watch on VHS at some later date. Different Will Ferrell, when he was on there, so there was people who stood out. But my son, I hope, with CPS, because it's PG-13 rated R. TV MA probably is what it is, but he loves Saturday. He loves sketch comedy. He loves Saturday Night Live. So my watching is typically him showing, Dad, look at this, and laughing and appreciating it from that way today.
Yeah, I remember my cousins when I got to New York. Well, I was in DC before New York. In DC, it wasn't a big deal. But when I got to New York, my aunts and cousins in New York, the house was shut down on a Saturday night. Even when the young aunts went out and partied and the more conservative aunts would stay behind to watch the kids, sisters are different. That shit would whatever was going on, there was two things I had no choice in on the television. One, Saturday Night Live on Saturday night. And two, Sunday morning, while my female cousins might be parting my scalp and putting grease in it for the flat top or whatever I had going on hair-wise, I was forced to watch Jem, who was truly, truly, truly outrageous.
Jem did come on Sundays. Sure did. Ugh. I still don't know what Jem was about, but I do know.
Yeah, I can tell you because I was sitting in between my cousin's legs while she was putting Vaseline on my scalp and braiding my flat top. Oh my God, but my hair looked good though.
All right. It still look good.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's going the other direction, but thank you.
So John Wick comes out this week. And as much as I do not condone violence, as much as I am, I won't say anti-gun, but, not a supporter of them in general. Man, I love me some John Wick. So I rewatched movie 1, 2, and 3. Just to make sure I had my mind right. I got my stories connected, rewatch some of those fantastic fight scenes. But when I tell you I'm excited about a movie coming out, I am excited. Got my ticket. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to watch some John Wick.
I'm late on the John Wick thing, but I'm with you. I
You
wasn't on the
caught
John
up?
Wick thing the first couple weeks, but I don't know. Over the years, especially the last few years, I was like, yo, what am I really missing on this John Wick thing? And I was like, oh, we got really cool fight scenes and gratuitous violence. I kind of like those in my movies, so I've been in. Ta-da.
It's stylish. The fight scenes, they put effort in. You know,
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves I won't say that. Keanu Reeves is a master of his specific craft. You know, there's roles that he won't get, roles that he won't be great in. I don't know how the Oscars view his acting. But when it comes to being good at what he does, the fight scenes, the acting scenes, he knows his limits. You know, he could probably in John Wick, there may be 30 minutes that he says 2-3 lines, right? But nobody walks away from a conversation better than John Wick. Nobody.
Heard.
So I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm
And
with it, though.
unfortunately, we do have to RIP Lance Reddick. You know who he is. So Lance Reddick from The Wire, Bosch, also the hotel concierge, so to speak, in John Wick. He passed away.
I know you're talking about now. Yeah, hotel concierge.
Maybe Friday. Yeah, he passed away on Friday. So 60 years
that's
old.
Unfortunate.
And the irony, as I was rewatching, it probably hit me in the third movie. You know, Lance Reddick's physique is solid, and you know, a few of the shows he's been shirtless. And I looked at that. I said, man, this brother gonna live forever. He looked toned and shaped, didn't know his age because he's kind of been the same age since he did The Wire. So for him to pass away, that's a loss, because he has been in several of my favorites, and his role in those movies was always, or in those in that entertainment movie series, etc., was always value add. So don't know a lot about his backstory. I'll learn more as we go, but yeah, RIP Lance Reddick. All right, what have you been reading?
That I can't say anything in specific, brother. I've been all over the place. Magazines
you read
about
today's proverb. Did you do proverbs for today?
I actually did not do the proverb today either. I really have not. I've
about to cast some stones at you.
Go for it.
No, I'm tripping.
Well, I thought you had it opened up, ready to go. I was like, you know what? I might as well. I didn't. I've been actually more and more, because it used to be that I would do the reading in the mornings or do readings in the mornings. And I'm kind of valuing more and more in the mornings, no media. Whatever the morning sounds are, between all the stuff that I got to do, those are the morning sounds. But no media, no new media, no internet, I've been trying to cut out, whether it's the news or Twitter or whatever, no media in the morning until I'm already left. It kind of taints me. It kind of ruins me, especially with the population that I work with. Sometimes getting news and other things before I see my students kind of fucks up my day. And I don't want to carry that energy into my classroom. like sometimes the politics and the maneuverings of the adults and the bureaucracy and other things kills my vibe to a point that it makes it hard for me to teach them without that in the back of mind. So sometimes it's best that I get new media and information at the end of the day. So honestly, I've been struggling with the whole restructuring of my day. Keep it a buck with you, getting new media at the end, fasting on the beginning part, and then trying to balance, being Mr. 5 a.m. club on the workout.
Yeah, adulting, man. Adulting is not the easiest thing on the planet to do. There's those that don't even like that the word, exists, but I think adulting is a thing. And we learn as we go. I think I'm an advocate for daily routine. I have mine. I've fallen off the wagon, back on the wagon, made adjustments to the wagon. And so I think the consumption of what works for you, what doesn't. And, I'm confident you'll figure it out. It just takes time to adjust. Who is that? Yoga is blurred.
Yeah.
You can't,
105 yoga asanas. There we go. Maybe that.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
It's not showing up right, but yeah,
Tell us about
101.
it. What is that?
I'm trying to because for me in the morning routine, I'll go from neck down to ankle and make sure I put everything through a rotation, a movement, or a stretch, right? But I don't necessarily know the names of all of those things. In many cases, those things have a name or a way that they could already be engaged, by way of these yoga poses. I'm trying to, because logically speaking, I realized a long time ago, dog, we are the only living creatures that don't stretch when we wake up anymore because we got soft. Right down to the sloth, the lion, the chicken, every other creature, when they wake up, they stretch. The human, as we've gotten soft over the eons, we don't. However, those that do remain in prime health.
Duly noted. To talk humans, to talk eons, I have completed Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind.
I like
by
that.
Yuval Noah Harari. And it is a brief history. He doesn't dive into any specific era for a long time. But it's about 20 chapters, give or take. I have to look. Man, let me tell you something, brother. Humans have been humaning on this planet for a long time. There is truly nothing new under the sun. And that's whether you subscribe to the biblical version of it, Darwin's theory of it, or whatever else is out there. We've been here for a long time. We do have history that indicates that. And there's three things that really jumped out for the book. It's a lot in it. I think it should be something that should be taught from, if not this book, these concepts. But
get to me. What were the three?
Needless to say. So first, we've been destroying the planet for a long time. It did not start in the 80s. It did not start with the industrial era. We have been sending species to existence since we have existed. Whether it be they became our food, whether their food was our food, and or what happens today, we build in subdivisions and subdivisions and more subdivisions on where these animals used to exist. So it is in our nature. Destruction, devastation to creation has been a part of our existence for a long time. Doesn't mean that we're not on some other ish, because the plastics, the pollution, the carbon dioxide, those things that are byproducts of our industrial era, are also problematic and are causing destruction in a way different than our destruction has been in the past. Second thing, the isms, socialism, communism, capitalism. In the book, he speaks to them as religions, because this isn't a religious or a spiritual book, although the idea of God is incorporated throughout. I think the author is very much of a faith. But that being said, when we just look at what Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, whatever they call for, they also have rules. And so these isms in that I just referenced, they have rules. And one of the things he pointed out is us in particular as Americans in our society, in American society, but others across the world, we follow the religion of capitalism and consumerism more than the religions of our professed faiths. So when we cut corners and rewrite rules in Christianity, the Catholic Church, Reverend Fred, and the couple bucks he puts in his side pocket, we break rules. We don't follow the rules. We don't abide by them. Most of us don't even fully understand the religious rules that we profess and prescribe to in our headliners topics vote for. But capitalism, consumerism, lockstep, lined up and in lockstep.
That is the exact point.
Everything that those isms want and need us to do.
I feel like
say something.
That is, you need to make a whole Most Def playlist. That has been his summary point for the last 19 years at least, maybe more.
Yeah.
How even above religion, consumerism and capitalism in the Black community has been our North Star for a large percentage of the community. So your summary just aligned well with another summary that I heard from Mos Def. That's what I was trying to say.
All right. I mean, anytime I could be put in the same sentence as Mos Def, I'll take that. I'll take that. And a lot of things in it, but the three that just jumped out, we, can you see my fingers, are all the same. As human beings, as Homo sapiens, skin color different, origin different, height, hair, eye color, lips. There are distinct differences amongst us all.
Can I ask you a question?
But we are sourced from the same place. We are the same species. There's birds fly, they chirp. There are birds that we see look the same. A crow and a grackle might look the same, but they cannot reproduce together. They can't have babies. So they are different species. A Black man and a white woman may not be approved of in South Georgia, but they can have babies. We are the same. Race, and other measures of status that we apply are fictitious concepts that we are choosing to follow. I'll stop there. What's your question?
Maybe we should save this for another show, but what you just said was it stroked and floated through a significant portion of what I would refer to as my philosophy on or my treatise on certain topics. I would ask you this question: what makes somebody a racist?
What makes somebody a racist? Carlton's definition, I won't tell anybody to put this answer on their test, but my answer is somebody who thinks that somebody of another race, which, as you said last time, is also a construct, social construct, something we made up. But based on how we define race and what it is, a racist is somebody who believes or perceives that their race is either superior than another race, or that another race is inferior to their race or another race.
Okay.
That's my version.
That's fair. That's fair. So, I would maybe even oversimplify it or simplify it a little bit more. I would say if you actually buy into the idea that race is a scientific construct, you're a racist. There is nothing in our experience or our education that tells us it's a scientific construct. It was never, ever, ever presented to us in a science class. You and I both remember kings play cards on fat green stools. That stopped at species, from kingdom to species. Kings, kingdom, phylum, right? Kings play cards, kingdom, phylum, class, order, right? On fat green stools. That whole little thing down
sound
there.
Close, man. Biology was not my strength, but you sound
I'm just
right.
saying that whole little setup, it stopped at species. Like species is the last scientific classification. Race
makes sense.
Comes in not under that. You just referred to that even in what you just said a while ago, which in your reference to different species and the capability of mating together. We're all the same species.
Yes.
Just the manifestation of different genotypes and haplotypes make us different color. Like and how we present to the world. But before the year 1200, the word race had nothing to do with us as humans. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And 1200 is rather recent. It's rather brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Race is still relatively a new concept. Racism is still relatively new in the grand scheme of things. And you see the damage it's done already.
Yep.
Before 1200, it was a competition against time. Had nothing to do with what you look like.
Yeah, humans, Homo sapiens, who we are, what we are, how we got here is very interesting, and what we continue to do is predicated on our past. So, a good book. Came recommended to me some
give me
years
that
ago.
name one more time, bro. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take you off track, but like you kind of stimulated thought in me here.
Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval, Y-U-V-A-L, Noah Harari, Harari.
All right, I have a question, and you may or may not be able to answer based on how deep you are into the book. In terms of antediluvian references or analysis, is there any of that there, like pre-flood shit?
Oh yeah, he goes back as far as history is written in terms of
But pre-flood history is so much
ideas.
rougher. That's what I'm saying.
You talking
Prior
about
to the Great
Noah's flood? You talking about
Yeah.
which flood? Noah's flood, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he goes back. He goes back. Like I said, doesn't necessarily stick in one particular place or another. But Noah, I think he has a chapter titled Noah's Ark. So, and where I say it's not a religious book, but he brings in all of the religious, spiritual concepts that are available to us.
With religion's influence on the world, man, like you're an idiot if you try to write a book and ignore the influence of religion. Religion has influenced the world, and you trying to ignore it in your creation would lead you to an incomplete, inaccurate creation. Your creation will now not represent the world accurately if you leave out religion, because religion has made that much of an influence. It's undeniable at this point.
And he goes there. So for me, it's a scientific book, but the spirit of the author is very much present, I believe.
Heard.
All right. All right, we'll take a break and be right back. This is Unsolicited Genius. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
And it will be so sweet, America. It will be so sweet. And all that heartache will go.
Connected to our president.
You gotta see the monster to be able to destroy the monster.
He took the military out before he took the civilians. Who does that?
Under his watch.
Welcome back. This is Unsolicited Genius. Before we get out of here, we want to remind you to like, subscribe, and follow. We are on the internet. Google the name, search the name, you'll find us. Wherever we are, like, subscribe, follow, and please share. Shout out to the super producer, Joe Nitty. Thank you for all the great work that you do. Enjoy the cruise, player. Thank you to our sponsors, Legacy Wear. Your legacy awaits. You can find them at www.legacywearus.com. Megacore CBD, broad spectrum hemp derived CBD, the way nature intended. You can find them at www.megacorecbd.com. Special thank you to Aura Rainwater, who says hydrate and elevate. You can find them at www.aurarainwater.com. And also special thanks to Carlton and his culture. Be your light. You can find more out about him and what he does at www.carltoninniss.com. Any shout outs you want to give before we get out of here?
Hey, man. Instagram at Craig D. Lindo. Holla at me.
Oh, okay. Shout out you. I like it. I shout out
Okay.
you. He do be posting some stuff, people. So check it out. Expand your mind. I got a special shout out to Stephen and Amanda from Jiffy Lube. Had to get the car took care of. I prefer Jiffy Lube. The haters could hate, but ended up having insightful dialogue with Stephen and Amanda while I was waiting on my vehicle. Stephen was a customer. Amanda worked there. Told them, they said, man, you should be on the radio. So I said, I got a podcast. Shot him the flyer, told him I'd give him a shout out. So Stephen and Amanda, I got a return for some stuff. You know, they tell you do this, do that, do this. I'm like, I ain't doing all that today. So in case I'm back, I hope we connect again. All right, so thoughts of genius. So in everything that we talked about today, and we talk sports, we talk headline news, we talk sin, he who was out sin cast the first stone. What I thought I wanted to impart the audience with today is the idea that to fail is to succeed. We all push for success. We all want to have, our heart's desires. We want our projects to succeed. We want enter the competition and win. We want to try out for the team and make it. But just because you don't, just because it doesn't go your way, doesn't mean you lost. It just means what you thought you needed to do, what you thought you were ready for, you might just need to go back to the lab. Or that great idea wasn't the greatest idea. There is another one in you. Or it may be a test of your grit, a test of your perseverance, which will be between you and the universe that you subscribe to, or more specifically, between you and God. You told him you want it. He said he'll give it to you. Let's see what you want to do about it, right? So when you fail, my unsolicited advice is find joy in that, because it means you're growing. It means you're evolving. Michael Jordan got cut. J.K. Rowling got rejected. Thomas Edison attempted the light bulb attempted to create the light bulb 1,000 times. And when was asked, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? Edison replied, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. So in your era, be it relationship, be it job, be it run in with the police, whatever happens in your life, if you survive, if you're present as that failure unfolds, what I am attempting to convince you of is that you are winning. Because a life that is plagued by dreams, each misstep means you are one step closer to realizing your destiny. In a life plagued by dreams and dreamers and hopers and wishers and believers, each misstep means you are one step closer to realizing your destiny. And on that, this has been another episode of Unsolicited Genius. Join us next week, same genius time, same genius channel. And for whenever you are, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
You are listening to Unsolicited Genius. Unsolicited Genius. Unsolicited Genius.
Craig D. Craig D. Molat.
Unsolicited Genius.
You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.